Hello everyone, welcome to Blue Dragon Actual. Today's topic is overqualified actuaries and understanding who are overqualified actuaries. Is there a thing called overqualified actuaries relevant today? And what is the student view? What is the employer view? And because I've been in both side of the table, I have also been a student looking for job. At this point of time, I've reached a senior level where I also hire, and I've done a lot of I've gone through multiple interviews, right? I've also given interviews and also taken interviews, so I can give you both the side, right? And overqualified actuaries, as we say, are people who are not clearing their interviews. They have cleared many papers. They have 5 papers, 8 papers, 10 papers. Some might even have 13 papers. They are posting in LinkedIn saying, "I am the fastest qualified actuary. Before me, or there was only one person who was cleared the paper by age of 23. Now I've done at age 19.99. Before 20, I am a qualified actually now." So they are sharing those posts in LinkedIn, and unfortunately when it comes to job, they're still struggling. They might have cleared the job, but then in that job they are struggling, or then they are not even getting to that level where they are uh, where they are able to clear the interviews, and they are going through multiple interviews, and unfortunately they are not clearing that. Having said that, and this is the point where I would like to promote one of our courses and then come back to our website bluedragonuniverse.in. I hope you can see it here, right? And I always would like to encourage you to go through our courses. It's very simple. Come here and go through the courses, right? Right now we have introduction to actuary, and then actual initial papers where we have CM1 and CS1. CS1 is being built, the R section has been built, and it will be soon added. CM1 is complete, and then higher papers and special courses. Like today we had a course on actual inner engineering, which is not a beginner course, which is for actual papers, and which is for people who have cleared some papers, and then they wanted to understand the nitty-gritties of actual software, especially in the life insurance domain. And we also have stock market courses. We also have Excel courses right now in the coding section, and then the R section that been recorded would also be added here. It will be like a significant R section, not only for CS1 but for everything else, for every other paper. Then we'll slowly, we're going to bring Python courses at very reasonable rate, right? And the course that I specifically want to highlight today is, if you go to introduction to actuary, right? And let us wait for some time to for this to open. So here you can see introduction to actuary. This is a free course. If you're new to actuary, please register here and get your doubts clarified. It's a free. There will be videos related to salaries, and but which institute to choose, what paper to write first, and everything else. There is another free course on FAQs of fresher, right? But the course that I want to highlight for people who are unable to clear exams and unable to clear interviews would be, if you want to book a mock interview with me. So here we'll take around 45 to 1 hour interview, give you detailed feedback on your video. Like, it will be recorded, it will only be relevant for you. We will only be able to see that, no one else will be able to see that. And then at every point, there will be detailed feedback given to you. Wherever you have given right answer, you'll be appreciated. Wherever given wrong answer, will be appreciated. So check out this, right? And that is where I wanted to mention about this course. Struggling in interviews, that is one thing that you want to get into. And we are also going to augment that with a few relevant questions that are being asked in the interviews. It would be a guideline sort of. It is not it will not be an exhaustive thing, but we are going to bring a separate course for that, like what are the commonly asked question in interviews, right? So coming back to the topic, overqualified actuaries, as we as I mentioned in the definition, people who have cleared a lot of papers, they are posting in LinkedIn, they're thrilled about clearing their papers, but they are not getting their job, and they are not thrilled about that. So let us consider the thrill part in this section. So what is an overqualified actuary? As I mentioned, passed many papers but not employed, right? And that is a sad thing. So first of all, we need to understand what is actuary. Now, actuary is a professional course, right? It is, the professional course means that it is related to a profession. The people who have cleared all the papers of actuary are supposed to work in a profession and augment that profession, and the process also get salary and everything else, right? So it is a professional course. What actuary is not? It is not a college subject, although it has exams, and that is why people mistook actuary as exam. Like I have to do this papers, and then I have to study. I have to go to a coaching center, and like I have studied in college. Because I'm a good student academically, I'll be able to clear papers. Like there would be subject like geometry, art, history, literature, like is given in this picture. Then I would like to clear the paper, right? But unfortunately, actually, it's not like that. Papers are the bare minimum, the very basic that you need to enter into the professional world or the corporate world. The corporate world is way tougher, right? And that is where people struggle. I've seen people who have cleared many papers in their college years, but the moment they enter into corporate, the pressure is just so much that they were not able to clear papers afterwards. And then, life happens, you get married, you have kids, very difficult to complete actually in that sense. And that is where the people who are thrilled about clearing their exam at 2021, at least the good part is they are done with the stress, right? And they're done with that exam and everything else. The problem that they have is not able to clear the exam because interviews, because interviews would be asked by a professional person who has spent years, right? And unfortunately those answers are not given in the books, so you struggle to answer that, right? And especially when you are thinking actually is a college subject, you are going through the relevant portion of the book. Like these days I get question, do you provide notes? The problem is, if you that note culture would always work in college exam, would probably work in college exam. Even college exam note culture is bad because you are skimming through materials, you're not reading everything that is needed to be learned, and you are just reading for passing the exam or getting good marks in exam. You know there is a pattern and you are trying to follow that pattern. Same thing you are doing in actually. The moment you get victim of that, I will say, I'll use the word called victim, because you are falling victim to the process, which is not going to favor you in any way. And because you are falling victim to the process, you did not learn the entire thing. So obviously the material that is given is insufficient. As I say that every actual material, every actual book is outdated by a decade at least. And then even in that outdated material, which is supposed to help you, which is basically the bare minimum you want to have with you when you enter the corporate world, even in that you are skimming through resources. You are just doing couple of questions, couple of definitions, and couple of answers, right? And when a professional person grills you, you just struggle to clear the interview, right? Or you struggle even if you clear the interview, because there is mass hiring going on. There is not much stress on giving you a job, but the stress comes afterwards, where you are struggling to understand what you have to do, or you are doing something, you have no idea what you are doing, right? And you are not using your brain at all. You are just like doing some copy paste type of work. So that is not actually. So that is why it is very important to distinguish that actually is a professional exam. It might look like a college subject or college type of course because it has exam, but exams are the bare minimum of actually. If you think actuaries are the people who have cleared the exam, then it is foolish. And it might, that idea might be propagated by few people, but that is not true. Actually is a professional course. You can only call yourself actually. Even for qualification you require 3 years of work ex. So you can only call yourself a professional actuary when you are working, when you are solving problems, when other people are asking for your help to get the problem solved, right? So that is when you can call yourself actuary. Paper clearing is just the bare minimum, as I mentioned. Moving on. So the question that I usually get is why, or what is the number of papers that we should clear so that we will not be over qualified actually. And usually they also have these answers in their mind because someone else have told them like one paper or two paper. Usually people say maybe four or five. So if I clear 4 or 5 papers, I have heard someone has told me that I'll not be overqualified, right? So that is the basic answer. So 1 2 3 4 5, someone has cleared 1, someone has cleared 2, someone has cleared 3, and someone has told them that if you clear 6, then you are overqualified, then you will not be able to clear interviews, and interviewer will kind of sack you for that reason, that you cleared 6 papers, right? So that is what people usually tell. And then coming to the student view, right? And we'll have student view, we'll have the employer's view, and we'll also have the neutral view, right? So we'll consider all of those. The student view is after clearing few papers, and because that person, usually the people who had entered actually are academically they have done well. So they have got 90% mark in class 10 and then maybe 95%. These days 90% is just a joke. You if you do not get below if you do not get above 90%, then probably one that's like an abuse. You have to get more than 90%. In our time 90% was a big deal, but these days everyone is getting 90%, so 90% has become a joke. But anyways, people after getting all those high percentage, even in graduation these days people get 90%, 95%, and then they say that I am a genius and I'm thrilled, and then they post about that in the LinkedIn, saying that how difficult it was. I was studying 10 hours, there was no electricity, and I was studying in the with the hurricane at 3 a.m. in the night. Every day I used to study for 39 hours, although every day is supposed to be 24 hours. I was going to Mars, and then I was studying and then coming back to Earth. So they have this sort of image about themselves, like I am a freaking genius and you don't know who I am, right? So that's the student view. Moving on, and I know everything, right? Because I'm a genius, so I know everything. Please give me the job, and you are flying to get the job, like you have done well in degree. So there is a natural correlation that you establish. Like if I've done well in the college and school and everything else, so I'll be doing very well in job as well, right? So give me the job. I'm just jumping with excitement. I'm just flying in the sky to get the job. The problem happens because of job is different from the the college world, and most people today they have very limited attention span, and that happens because of this. So student wants to show off, and like they show off in LinkedIn and every other places. So they also watch reels and they watch it on Apple iPhone. So they want the job to get their Apple phone, or if they already have an Apple phone, they want to upgrade it, and then they will share got my new job, and watching this reel in Apple 20 24 or 25, whatever it is, right? Whatever version you an Apple phones comes up with, right? Every version looks similar to me. So anyways, so moving on. And many in my discussion with many freshers, they say we are very flexible. People who are actually at slightly older, they are rigid and they come with a viewpoint, but we are very very flexible. The unfortunate part is, once again, someone has told that to you. And in my discussion with the freshers or people who are more younger, I find them very, very rigid. In fact, this flexibility thing was probably applicable to our generation, those who have started their career in 12, 13, 14. I think this is that we are much more flexible because we're I can give my example when I was new to the corporate, and when people say something, I might have a opinion against it, but I was always willing to listen to the other side. And even today, right? Because I think that should be the way life should be led. Like you might have a counter opinion on something, but you must hear properly. Properly is very important. I'll reiterate properly. You must hear properly what the other person is trying to communicate. The problem I see with the real generation, or Gen Z as they are called, they are not flexible, though they think they are flexible. So someone, and this happens because of this reason. Papa said so, Mama said so, Dada said so, Dadi said so, senior said so, friend said so, teacher said so. So already that person is programmed to believe in some way. And the moment that person sees something else, as for example, the person has done well in the college and the person has studied from notes. The moment someone says, see, in actually you cannot do that, you have to study every material, and the exam preparation can be slightly different. You might target few of the questions which is more important, then that can be done, but you should not study from notes. The moment something is said, something like this is said to a fresher who is different, like who is rigid, right? Then that person will not actually believe that, and that person will never uh, hear the other side of the story. The person will leave the conversation. That person might be physically present, but mentally that person will leave the conversation the moment something against their programming is kind of told to them. And this happened because of this. It's unfortunate upbringing issue. I've been saying that for many months now, or many years now. And because of this, Papa said so, Mama said so, Dada said so, Dadi said so, senior said so, your mind has already been programmed in a certain way. The problem here is corporate or anyone else would pay you for your opinion. when you have your own thought process, when you can attack a problem based on you that thought process, you can think independently of what others are saying, and can go and be committed to that direction and go in that direction. That is the that is the mindset that people are looking for, how you are different from the herd. But the problem is, if you follow your mama, papa, dada, dadi, you will follow the trend and you go into the herd, and that real culture does not help, because in real we see a dance move and that is trending, so you also follow that same thing. So we became part of the herd rather than being different from the herd. Earlier, when that real culture was there, so only very few people were doing that, and then it was not part of the herd. But right now, everyone is doing the same thing, so it has now become part of that, and that's the problem. And another thing that I'd like to highlight is this teachers said so. The problem here is most of your actual teachers, I'll say 99.99%, 0.01%, because Blue Dragon Universe is different. And most of your actual teachers have never worked in corporate life, or they've worked for 2 years, been kicked out of that company, or never got promoted in their life. So they themselves do not have actual experience, and they are telling you, or giving you GANs on actual experience, or how to pass paper, or how to get into an interview, is ridiculous and is hilarious at the same time. So many of your teachers have never worked in corporate. That might be your teacher from class 10, your teacher from class 12, or even in graduation. They are doing teaching, and they might be good teachers, right? So that is why they have survived for that long. But if they're giving you opinion on corporate work, that's a problematic thing, because they themselves are unsuccessful in corporate, or they have never worked in corporate. Probably they have never worked in corporate is the more important thing, and that is the real picture. But they have worked for 2 years and they have been kicked out of the corporate, and they will never say that they have been kicked out. They will say, I have left the job, right? So that is how it is. People who have worked in corporate and reached a certain level, only you should take suggestion from them, right? Other than maybe someone in your family might have reached a very senior level, and you can also seek suggestion from them. But if someone do not have that open mindset, and then that person might be related to you and might be give you a biased opinion as well, right? It is very difficult for someone to give a honest picture, or show a honest picture to a very young person, usually if that person is related. So stay away from this teachers and relatives. And if you want to say that you are flexible, then be open in accepting the other point of view, right? If you are not doing that, if you are like I said, if you are studying from notes, and if you are not willing to listen to the other side, you might still study from notes. That is up to you. But if you are not even willing to listen to the other side, then that does not make you flexible. So flexibility is a mindset, and it should be, if you are flexible, it should be visible everywhere. But if you are not flexible, just one or two instances of flexibility would just show that you are a good yoga student, but not a good corporate employee. Moving on, and then you will not be able to clear interviews, like I said, and that is where the course that I highlighted. If you want to book mock interviews, visit bluedragonuniverse.in, and then kind of book the mock interviews. And many people consider this to be failed, like they're failing in the interviews. What they do not understand is they are not failing in the interviews, they're learning a new process, right? The brain should identify this as a learning instead of failure. You have not failed until and unless you have given up. So if you have failed a couple of times, or if you're not able to clear a couple of times, then it's a new learning process for you. I can tell you that for my first actual job, and I was already working in the insurance sector, not in actuary, but for my first actual job, I failed in 21 interviews. My father used to keep count, like you have gone in the first round, second round, third round, okay, and now you got rejected. So I failed in 21 rounds before clearing my first interview. Right. So imagine from where I've started, how much I've learned in getting rejected in those interview process, how much I've adapted my interview preparation, and then I was finally able to clear it. But I was not complaining that I'm failing, or I am not able to do something, or I've never considered that as a failure, right? So the things that you are passionate about, you should not give up, and that should be a learning thing for you. The things you are not passionate about, you probably have failed and you've given up on that, right? That is a true failure, and you need not be successful at everything. But the things you are passionate about, there is no chance that you will fail, because eventually you are going to understand and grow in that domain, but through learning, right? So that is how it should be. That is why there is a image of brain understanding something new here and jumping with joy here. But the people who are not interested in, actually, who are here hearing about that 1 crore package from those teachers who have never worked in the corporate and got only 2 lakhs package, right? If they are showing that dreamy picture to you, then you have already been fooled and you are never interested in actually. So then you have actually failed and you should move to some other domain. But if you are passionate about, actually, if you want to learn what is actually, because trust me, actually is the best financial course out there. There is no other course, not MBA, not CFA, not FRA, no other course that is better than actually in finance domain. But if you are not able to visualize that, if you are not able to see that, if you are here only because of job, because someone, once again, your senior or your dada dadi has told you to go into, actually, then you have already failed there, right? Then you will not be, the brain, you will not feel the excitement. So that is where you are not clearing the interviews, and those fine tuning some answers that need to be changed, that we can help you. Blue Dragon Universe can help you. But if you have that bigger mindset issues, then no one can help. So first you have to determine whether actually is a passion for you, whether you would like to continue this, and whether you not consider something as a failure and just as a learning, or you want to kind of continue ahead with this, or you want to move ahead in life with something else, right? And that is also a good thing. You might be a very bad actuary, but you might be a very good cricket player. So move into cricket, play cricket, right? Make the nation proud, make your parents proud, but do not come into actuary. If you are in actuary, then you should be passionate about it. Moving on, and I have also seen even LinkedIn post that nobody gives feedback. The problem here is, that same concept that I mentioned, rigidity. And I remember, I'll just give you an example. When I was in a previous organization, I asked, I was hiring for a position, and I specifically mentioned that we need people who are above 2 years of work ex. So I got CV from few people who are working for 1.9 years, like 1 year 9 months, 1 year 10 months, 1 year 11 months, and they have also shared the CV. And then when I found that, so I wrote them a mail that your CV is not considered because you have not satisfying the entry criteria, which was at least 2 years of work years. So I got all of them replied the same thing, saying that I my notice period is for 2 months or 3 months. So by the time I'll join, I'll become 2 years. So they have assumed that that will also be considered. But I have clearly mentioned that right now your experience criteria would be more than 2 years, right? So you can assume many things. The problem is that rigidity. That the moment I am saying that your CV is not going to be considered because you are not meeting the criteria, I must have some thought process. I must have some filtering criteria, right? Because of that, I am saying that you are also right in your thought process that if you are 1 year 10 months, then by the time the you would be joining, you would be over 2 years. But that is not something that I'm interested in. We are probably interested in someone who is 2 years, 2 year 3 months, 2 year 4 months, and by the time that person join, that person will be 2.5 years, right? So you are anyways, you I have some thought process, you have some other thought process. It is not going to match. The problem is the moment I give that feedback to you, you are being rigid and you are giving me some justification for why you are sending the CV. So this is the reason, and I can accept that I can, I can give you try to explain something more to you. But HR or many people would not have that patience with freshers. And as I mentioned, freshers are very rigid. I have seen freshers who call themselves flexible, but they're extremely rigid. And that is why I see and I think that HRs have stopped giving feedback because we keep on justifying something. And also HR have many other work. So rather than giving feedback and hearing justification from your side, and uh, kind of working through all those justification, give re-explanations, and moving into the loop, HR will prefer not to give feedback, right? So, and after all, they also have to make a rangoli during the events. I'm just joking. So anyways, so that is the reason that HR do not give feedback, right? First of all, they do not have time. They also have other work. right? And if I give feedback, the moment I have tried to give feedback to few people, they come back with a justification. Feedback is supposed to be taken as it is. You might accept it, you might not accept it, move on from that, right? If it helps you, then all the good, all the better. If it does not help you, move away from it. That then there is a clear difference in opinion. But if you start giving justification for everything, there is no point in giving a feedback, right? And that is precisely the reason that HR never gives feedback. Moving on, right? And then student who was jumping with joy in LinkedIn, sharing motivational messages, saying now they start saying that actually is bad, you know, and then they start to leave actually, right? And also malign the profession and say negative words about that. And then they become seniors, and then that papa said so, mama said so, dada said so, and in that there will be a bracket for senior said so, and senior will advise the juniors that do not do actually, we do not get job, right? That's the problem that we see. Okay, so what is the employer's view in this case? The employer's view, or how employers used to see earlier, is if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5 papers, then fine. Then you will take some time to clear, and at that point of time, the exam passing rate and MCQs were not there. There were not multiple exams. There were only 4 exams considering IAI and IFA. And even after some time, the exemptions were removed, right? So there were actually 2 exams, only 2 exam diets. So employers were a view that people who have more papers, suppose someone coming with 10 papers or 11 papers, they will leave quickly, right? So and then they have to train, because as I mentioned, papers are bare minimum, very basic. That will not work in professional life. That will just help you to understand the professional work, but it will not help you. You have to develop other skill like Excel and VBA, right? And understand an actual software like the actual inner engineering workshop that I did today, right? And tomorrow would be the last day. So these are things that you have to learn, right? And the employer will think that I'll train this person, and just because this person has 10 papers, that person will get trained, work for 6 months, and go to some other company for a higher package, right? So that is the employer's viewpoint. For the reason it is kind of told that do not clear too many papers, but that is not relevant today, right? So the question is it relevant today? No, it is not relevant today. It was probably relevant 5 years before, but these days it is not relevant because you probably already know the reason. Because paper do not carry much weight, and it has become more and more clearer because the exam system has become easier. It's multiple choice, and it's much simpler as compared to our time. It is much easier to pass the paper because the passing rate has increased drastically. Even India is producing 80%, 90% passing rate, right? So it is much more easier, right? So the paper does not carry any weights now. So if you, in fact, today, if you do not have paper, that is a problem. So like this is the place where we'll be sharing our viewpoint, like the video viewpoint. And the main thing is the system has changed. As I mentioned, the paper has become easier, the passing rate has increased, it has also become multiple choice, right? So the exam system will generate more incompetent actuaries. The word incompetent is very important here, because people who are clearing exams may not be competent at all. There will be few exceptional students, and that is always there, but many would just be multiple choice, or just because of the system they are passing the exam. I can tell you that I, because we also teach SP2, SP1. We have few. I think few died back. We have around 30% or 40% passing rate from Institute of Actuaries of India, and in that diet, everyone who appeared from Blue Dragon Universe passed the SP2. And there are many people who I never thought that they are going to pass the exam because their concepts are so weak, but they have actually passed the exam. Now imagine this person coming with CV saying SP2 in that CV, getting benefit of that. And when they are going to work, they would not be able to add value because that person do not understand. There are multiple person, not only one person. That person do not probably understand SP2 in that detail, or life insurance in that detail. But because of the way exams were conducted and checked these days, that person is passed. And so that is the problem. The exam system will keep on generating incompetent actuaries, right? So it is very important that you study the exam well, because that is bare minimum. You need to understand everything that is written in the material and retain most of it. If you are studying from notes, then already you are making an effort for 60% or 70%, right? 30% you are already letting go, and then you are going to retain maybe 40-50% of that 30 70%, so which eventually will boil down to 35%. And then you can understand why I'm calling them incompetent actuaries, right? Number of papers became more irrelevant now. In fact, if you do not have more papers, then it's a concern, right? So right now, if you have 10 papers, 11 papers, even 13 papers by the time you graduate, that is good. That is not bad, because anyways, we are not paying giving any weightage to papers, right? So entry level exams are new things, because, and probably you have already seen that many companies are coming up with their own exam, because they do not know if people have cheated to pass the exam, or they are just lucky passing the exam. So they are coming up with their own aptitude test, and slowly you will see that, especially at entry level, this should be common across the industry, that there would be entry level exam. Whatever 10 papers, 20 papers, 15 papers you have passed, that will be irrelevant. You have to clear the aptitude test, and then only you will be considered for job. That is the new filtering criteria. In our time, paper one was difficult, so that was the filtering criteria. More paper probably give you an edge. These days, papers are so easy, so that's why papers will not give you edge, right? You have to show your edge in different way, and company will also filter using this entry level exam, right? And lower papers with an easy exam system is a bigger challenge now. So because if you have lower number of papers, like I mentioned, right, and suppose you have only cleared 2 papers and 3 papers right now, and you are looking for job, then people will question that, like, in 2 years you have only cleared 2 papers in such an easy exam system, so then probably you are not fit for actuary, right? So that is a bigger challenge now. So there is no such thing right now as overqualified actuary. It was a thing of the past, and it has it has been put to rest in the past only. So now you have to clear papers, because it is much more easier and simpler, and probably look for job. The sooner you look for job, the better. But if you have a very lower number of papers in a good time frame, maybe in 3 years, 4 years, you have only 3 papers or 4 papers, that's a red flag, and people will not hire you if that is the case. So overall, eventually those incompetent actuaries, which I call froth, right? Like you can see this from this beer glass, the froth that is coming up, right? So they would be eliminated, and I think we should all cheers for that, because there are too many froth in the system right now, even at senior level as well. So that should be eliminated, and that is very important. So higher papers are costly, right? Obviously, you know that higher papers, especially if you are writing papers from IFO, it's very, very costly. Even from India as well, it is costly. So higher papers need experience as well, and you can make proper use of the higher papers if you have worked in that domain, and then also you are also learning from books. So that can help you a lot, right? So higher papers requires a lot of money. Higher papers need experience. You need a different level of understanding. Some concept might not be explained well, and that is where you probably need a teacher, right? That is where you needed someone who can explain that concept, who goes through each and every line of the book and explain that, which is what we follow in Blue Dragon Universe. We do not share notes, because we do not believe in that concept. I have never studied from notes, even in my class one. So I don't believe in that concept. That's a ridiculous and foolish concept to me. So how can I promote that thing, right? So I took a lot of pride in going through each and every line of the book and understanding those, and not eliminating few of the section because those are not asked in the exam. I do not study like that. I study because I have fun, right? But you study, you want to clear exam. That is the college mindset. Papa said so, Dada said so, Dadi said so. No wonder you cannot do better than Papa, Mama, Dada. And Papa, Mama, Dada was successful 10 years back. Today, they would probably not get job themselves. So that is where you have to be up to date with the contemporary world. Moving on. So I would suggest you to maybe clear some papers, 6, 7 papers, if you, or whatever be the number of papers, right? And then look for job, because for the higher papers, especially for the higher papers, you will get increments based on your paper clearing. Those papers would also be reimbursed if you clear the paper, right? So use the actual development policy that every employer have. Usually in India, almost all the employers have actual development policy, where your fees will be reimbursed, where your membership will be reimbursed, where you will get increment based on passing the paper. So use that. If you are not working, then once again, you are drawn into that papa said so, dada said so, mama said so, that I have to clear all the papers before I join job. And because of that thought process, you are going to lose out on a lot of financial benefit. And then when you are done with 13 papers, right, someone else who is using the approach of studying the paper as well as doing the job at the same time, that person will be drawing 3-4 times more salary than your package, because that person has used the actual development policy. And also it is very important that the place where you are going to spend the rest of your life probably, or at least maybe 16-17 years, that is the corporate. You need to understand the corporate culture. So why you are stuck in book, go outside, understand the corporate culture, whether you would like to spend your life in it, or whether it is just a short term thing, and after 15-16 years you are going to start your own business. Think from that perspective, right? So think bigger and think contemporary. So that's it. I'll just, I just hope that you will be visiting the bluedragonuniverse.in. If you have any question, you can write that in the comment section. And as I keep on saying, do not be part of the herd. Stay away from the herd, and have your independent thought process. Even if by that process you fail or you have some risk, you are not able to be successful for some time in the eyes of the society, know that you will be doing very well in the long term, right? So that mindset will set you apart from other people. If you are part of the herd, like I mentioned, you are watching reels and you are doing the trending step, then you are already, your mindset is to follow the herd. You will never be able to lead the herd. So that is where it is very important that instead of calling yourself overqualified or not, see if you are fit for the corporate. Then this question of overqualified or not will never come into picture. If you are fit for the corporate, if you can answer the questions they are asking, it does not matter whether you have 10 papers, whether 13 papers, whether you have one paper. If you are shortlisted for the interview and if you have good knowledge, you are going to clear the interview. That's it. See you in future videos.